Hello, wild ones. Welcome to the Wild AF Mother channel. And it's the 32-week update. Things are moving right along. Nothing major has happened for me still. So that's great. It's uneventful. So this week, let's talk about what I packed in my hospital bag should an emergency arise. The odds of that are low, but you never know what can happen. So it's good to have that even if you're doing a wild or what folks call unassisted pregnancy and unassisted birth, which is really a misnomer because it's more like non-medicalized is probably a better term, especially if you have someone helping you, like assisting you or attending to you, then it's not unassisted at all. And most people doing this do indeed have a spouse or some friends or family who are helping. So we are non-medicalized. Do we need white coats to be involved by default? No. Do we need interventions by default? No. Do we need routine invasion into our bodies and our minds? And do we need to be browbeaten about how our baby can die, how we can die, when nothing is actually determined to be wrong yet? No, we don't need any of that stuff. And it's actually going to make the whole process more dangerous to be roped into all that. So we're keeping it as safe as we can, keeping things as, sacred as we can. I'm not a mystic, so I don't know if I should be using that word, but birth is a private moment. It's a special moment between people who love each other and know each other well. It's not really something that a bunch of strangers should be involved in or that they have a right to observe. And it's a little bit creepy to think, I don't know, just people you don't really know very well are right there, looking up your vagina and touching you in ways that you most of the time didn't consent to. Or the numbers of, say, for example, vaginal exams. There's I just was reading some stats about how many of them those checks are actually consented to, and it's somewhere around half, maybe. The numbers are terrible. So yeah, that doesn't look too good. But anyway, so we're avoiding all that. So let's talk about what is going into my hospital bag or is in there. We'll just get right into it. So you want to have, just in case, your bag packed with comfy clothes, so like PJs or a nightgown or something comforting and nice to wear, maybe a robe too. You want toiletries, so don't forget your hairbrush. You want shampoo, maybe dry shampoo if you don't want to think about actually getting in the shower and washing your hair. Washing my hair is the first thing I do when I go into labor. When I become pretty sure that it's labor, I wash my hair. And I would recommend that tip to anyone because then I wash my hair every 3 days. It's just it would get too frizzy if I washed it more often than that. So that bought me 3 days of just holding that baby and working on breastfeeding and hanging out and relaxing and healing without having to worry about scrubbing my hair. So get that shampoo in there. You'll need a toothbrush and toothpaste, some deodorant. I personally have now taken to using just coconut oil mixed with baking soda. Just put, I don't know, it's maybe a tablespoon of baking soda to every 5 tablespoons coconut oil. And just first maybe you put in the oil in a little container. I actually use old Play-Doh containers of my kids. So empty Play-Doh container, just wash it out. And then I fill it up with coconut oil almost to the top, not quite. You want room to stir and mix, so leave a little headspace. And then I heat it up until it's not liquid, but just stirrable, but thick, kind of a slurry thickness. And then add in the baking soda, stir it in, and then stick it in the fridge so that it doesn't settle. The baking soda won't settle to the bottom. And just stick it in the fridge for a minute and let that harden up. And then I have deodorant anytime. And you can buy, it doesn't have aluminum in it, so that's handy or anything weird. And you can buy lots of deodorant at the store that's healthy like that isn't going to have strange ingredients. But I just find that if I can just mix up a batch whenever I want, it's just one less thing to worry about on the shopping list. And it's handy. And if you're running low and don't want to get out and you're big and pregnant, you can always make my deodorant recipe it's not mine, actually got on the internet. So you want to have lip balm because there's a lot of breathing in labor and a lot of you know, I don't know, screaming maybe, and just things that can make your lips dry. So you could have lip balm. You want extra hair ties and face wipes. Baby wipes are always handy. I think now that I've had kids, I was mentioning the other day that I will probably never be without wipes. Just, you know, my kids can grow up and move away, and I'll still be buying the same wipes I use with them when they're babies because they're just too handy. I can wipe down like the cup holders in the car right quick when we're going somewhere. Or I can just wipe off my face if it's a sweaty, hot day out, and they're just handy. So you might want to have that with you in your bag. You want to have your birth plan. I've been pondering a little bit about how the birth plan is mostly, like, the idea is to say, here's what I want, here's what I don't want during my birth, but legal meanings of things like that can be very different from what normal English is. It's almost like legalese is this other language for aliens, and if you make this list of stuff that you don't consent to, I've noticed a trend, like, in the law. I'm not going to say with birth stuff in specific, but I catch on to, like, I've caught on to, like, incidents in court where someone will have a thing that's they consented to do something, or maybe really they gave a negative, like a non-consent directive, or like they're verbally had told someone, hey, I don't consent to this and that, but then legally it means that you are not consenting to everything else that you didn't mention expressly. You know what I'm saying? So I am no attorney. I don't know, but I was just thinking about birth plan stuff and wondering if I say I don't want this, and that, and then if I leave something out, does that then make me even more legally culpable for someone taking those actions against me that I didn't specifically mention? It's tough because when things get legal, it's like this whole other universe of dealing with what words mean and what how directives apply, and how consent actually works. So that said, it's a good idea maybe to have your birth plan, and it doesn't hurt to go over other people's birth plans online, so that you can see that you covered all your bases. It's really tough to cover everything. So just go ahead and search, like Google image search or whatever, like search for, or in birth related forums online for people's birth plans, and there are a ton of them that are published that I've seen. So go ahead and read those up and steal, like, just copy paste from that if you need to, and get everything in there. I am personally not packing a birth plan, I think, because I just have to be able to say that, hey, nothing, I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. What I would do if I end up in a hospital for an emergency situation this time, what I'm actually going to do in lieu of a birth plan is say, I'm not signing consent to treat. Like, I will not sign consent to treat. That way, they'll only do what it takes to save our lives, should that be necessary, but they can't actually do any procedures or treatments or anything else beyond that. Or, I mean, they can, but they can't charge me for it. And that's the kind of, just the very fact that I didn't sign the consent to treat would get me out of a bill for things that I didn't consent to. So if you just have those two documents, like, if you can show A, there is nowhere where I signed consent to treat, and B, oh, look here at this bill, it's got this stuff on here that was not life-saving related, that stuff will have to be written off the bill. I mean, and unfortunately, in some cases, you have to sue the hospital or you have to take it to court. I will do that. I would do that if I had to. So that's what I've chosen to do in lieu of the birth plan, is just to not sign consent to treat. Furthermore, you know what I might even do? Not take an ID in and not give my name at all. Or my husband's name. Like, we'll just have no ID. We'll say we came in a cab. We don't have ID on us. So they can't charge us. They can't send us bills. They can't contact us. They can save our lives, and then they can fuck off, and we'll be on our way. And I wouldn't feel that way if I didn't know what they're up to. I'm just not going to participate. I won't do it. They won't get my name. They won't get my address. They won't get my phone number. They can save my life, or not, and see how that goes for them in court. and then I'll be on my way. Okay, so back to the bag. We need an extra long cell phone charging cord. So I can see why this says extra long. I'm just going down this list here I found that I used for my own bag. And you do want to have a cord for charging your phone. You're going to take a bunch of pics of your baby and call folks and tell them the baby's here. So you want to have that. Snacks and drinks. Okay, this one is another tough one because the hospitals will say you can't have food because you can, if you ended up having to go into surgery, you can aspirate. This is not exactly true. It's an augmentation of the truth. In fact, I was just a second ago reading about the food, and let me see, I'm on my phone here. Let me just see if I can scan down and find this little paragraph. Okay, so yes, all right. This is an NIH document. So it's a government document saying this stuff all, and the idea of the article is talking about interventions and how they're actually detrimental to women and babies. So one section is called restrictions on eating and drinking. 79%, listening to mothers 3, which is I don't know if that's an article or like a volume of a book, but listening to mothers 3 reported that 79% of women were restricted from eating, 60% were restricted from drinking in labor in hospitals. So I can't imagine, and this is something women do regularly, have to deal with regularly, restricted from drinking, and to think that a labor can last about a day is like, now you often will wait until hours into that labor to go to the hospital. So maybe even if you're looking at only 12 hours without a drink, that's crazy. That's not good for a body that's doing such hard work. It's just insane. Same with eating, not being able to eat. I mean, you want a good, I remember with my first baby I made it through about half of a baked potato before things ramped up and I couldn't eat anymore. But I think that starch, that carb load really helped me, and things got going, and he was born a few hours later. So anyway, let's see this part about how this is. Okay, so I'll just read this little spot. Obstetric anesthesia has changed since the 40s. General anesthesia is rarely used. There is a greater use of regional anesthesia, and unlike in Mendelssohn's time, the airway is protected during general anesthesia, reducing any risk of aspiration. And as I said, aspiration is the excuse that they give as to why you can't eat in case you go into surgery and you don't want to aspirate food into your lungs and it can cause infections. But the way things are done now are really different, so much so that the risk of aspiration is really reduced. It is also important to know that the stomach is never empty, and fasting doesn't ensure less acidic stomach contents, so reducing or restricting intake does not achieve the intended result of an empty stomach. Given these advantages, it seems logical there's no longer a need to restrict eating and drinking in labor. In addition, fasting in labor is unpleasant and makes it more difficult for women to meet the demands of labor and may cause longer and more painful labors. And then there's a link here to citate like a source. So maybe I can go ahead and put this link into the description. It covers this article that I want to link covers, where's the keywords? There's like a list of keywords here. Intravenous fluids in labor, which I just learned from this article, can cause like, can decrease uterine contractility. I had no idea. It can cause, because there's glucose in they often use a glucose fluid for IV in labor. It can cause the mother to become hyperglycemic, and the baby then becomes hypoglycemic, I guess, after it's born. And I had no idea until today. I was reading that. So anyway, keywords for this article is intravenous fluids in labor, restrictions on eating and drinking in labor, electronic fetal monitoring, augmentation of labor, epidural analgesia, episiotomy, cascade of interventions, cesarean surgery, and optimal care. So if those are anything that you're interested in, then I will put that link down. All right, let's look at some more stuff to put in our bag. Pillows and a bath towel. Oh, about the snacks and drinks, I guess the point I was getting at is that if you bring your own snacks and drinks, they're not going to smack them out of your hand, I don't think. Then again, with how crazy medical staff acts, I guess you'd want to wait till they're out of the room, but you can go ahead and sneak your snacks and drinks. It's not worth having a harder time of birthing and healing just because these like grade school, second grade teachers with their whistles out on recess, watching you, monitoring you, people are around. These hall monitors, glorified. Don't let them stop you. So yeah, you want also pillows and a bath towel. So hospital towels are just, I don't know, they're just kind of like cheap motel towels. They're thin and tiny and no fun. So bring a bath towel. You'd think that with the money they charge, they could manage to have some nice, and that's something that American medical tourists, or like any kind of medical tourist, will tell you that's different from, when they travel away from their own country. And the USA apparently comprises, like, USians comprise 10% of all medical tourism in the world, so that's a huge amount. But people leave their own country to get medical care elsewhere. And one thing I keep reading in their accounts of getting care is like, the hospital I stayed at in this other country, it was cheaper, I got better care, better bedside manner, and all the amenities were like a hotel. It was nice. So that's something that that we don't do here. And it's just like crappy motel quality. And for everything they charge, you would think they could do better. But so much money goes to basically buying off loyalty of lackeys and forcing all of these government mandates and requirements, that all the money just gets sucked up into the administrative arena, and then there's none left to actually provide patients with good food, like decent amenities to make them comfortable or to make them happy or to bring their morale up. That all is considered not important, and that is really backward. You want your patients to be taken care of, fed well, etc., if you want them to get better. But then again, hey, if they don't get better, you can keep them in the hospital and charge their insurance up the wazoo, especially if they have decent insurance, and just charge them. Ooh, yeah. Speaking of insurance, I also was reading some stats. Forgive me on this. I don't think I can put a link on this one because it's in my huge pile of tabs on my phone I have open, and I don't know which one right now. But I was reading that there was a correlation between episiotomy and good insurance. So women who have good insurance happened to more often get an episiotomy. It's almost like, if the hospital knows they can get paid for the procedure, they'll perform it. So we know that goes on, but just to hear that it applies all the way down to the episiotomy is like, yikes. No thank you. Not good. So pillows, bath towel, nipple cream. If you're going to breastfeed, then your nipples, and it's nice and convenient to breastfeed. It's just right there. It's coming out anyway. Might as well put a baby on that. And your nipples will thank you. You can put there's like lanolin, the sheep grease stuff, which it works great, and people love that. Vaseline is fine. Anything that seals and protects. And you can just web search what works good as nipple cream and pick your favorite. Adult diapers or other postpartum care products. So at the hospital, they have those mesh panties with the huge pads, and they're okay. You have to ask for each one. I don't see why they can't just put a bunch in a drawer and be like, here's a bunch of mesh panties. But they typically will be you have to ask for every little thing. And it's just demoralizing. It makes you feel like a child. So, hey, if you want A, to not have to ask, and B, to take a better quality product, then take some adult diapers. And that's what I do. I've bought adult diapers for every baby. And every time one is born, I put one of those bad boys on. And it's just like, slightly bulky underwear, it's not even that bad. Like, I've worn them out and about, and I don't feel like I look like I'm wearing a diaper. So it's fine. It all works, and it's much more sturdy than that mesh panties nonsense. Mesh panties are okay, just not the best. You can have a perineal spray with those Sitz spray bottle things, perineal bottles. They have a unhooked. There, it's just a squeeze bottle with a long hooked neck thing on it. It's kind of like, like a douche nozzle, but it's bent, and you can just, spray your butt or your vulva if you're using the bathroom and it's hurting you, and it can help you clean up after you use the bathroom, because it can really be painful to go potty, especially number 2 after having a baby. I've been lucky. It hasn't actually been that bad for me, but I have heard that a lot of women have trouble, so there's, no harm in having one available. A portable Bluetooth speaker and your playlist is good, because music can really put you in the headspace you want to be in, and help you relax, and that's good. I have never really used music in labor. I use television or like a movie in early labor, in latent and early labor, because it helps distract me from the next contraction, and they're not even that bad at that point. It just helps me to not fixate too much, just let it ride, have a contraction, crank up my TENS electrodes, like crank up the signal from the TENS unit through a contraction, then when it's over, turn that off and just keep watching my silly, like a comedy movie or something. And then once active labor starts, I tend to not notice that my husband turns off the movie or whatever I was watching, and he must be doing it at the right time, because it's just to the point where I don't notice he's turning it off, right? And things are getting serious at that point. And then if you want to make your room smell nice, you can bring like a diffuser, or maybe a portable fan if you want some white noise, or you want that a little bit of wind blowing on you, because you can't open windows in hospitals typically. And then there's stuff for the baby that you can bring along, like a car seat, a going home outfit, bottles, and as far as like diapers and wipes for the baby, like you can have your wipes, like facial wipes or whatever, but as far as diapers or wipes for the baby, that's one thing that hospitals do tend to provide, so you don't have to worry about that so much. And if you just have all that stuff in your bag, you're going to be pretty much good to go. Those comfy clothes and those snacks, and then your cell phone charger are probably the bare minimum, and then your toiletries. If you have that stuff, you're pretty much ready to go. Another thing I'll just cover right quick is this is the time when, at about 32 weeks, in the 30s weeks of pregnancy, that's when you are going to start getting closer to the possibility of seeing signs of preeclampsia. Most women do not have this. Let me just ask right quick. How many pregnant women get preeclampsia? I'm just curious how many. It looks like 2 to 8%. 2 to 8% of pregnancies worldwide. So some of that may be affected by the area you're in. And okay, so that's, it's the minority for sure. So don't worry too much, but just keep your eyes open, and just pay attention to symptoms like sudden weight gain, like faster than you have been, not just the baby chubbing up, but like a sudden quick weight gain, persistent headaches, changes in your vision, pains in your upper abdomen or shoulder, and swelling or puffiness. So you might start getting a bit of edema, so don't panic if you're a little bit puffy in your ankles your hands, your face. Don't immediately assume that it's preeclampsia because that can be edema. I have a little bit of it, a little bit of just water retention in my tissues. So and I'm like my blood pressure is great, so that can happen. But if you just get really puffy, like moon faced, again, can just be retaining water interstitially and just in your tissues. But if you get a lot of these symptoms, the headaches, the change in vision, pain in your upper abdomen, your shoulder, you can always go ahead and try, because it won't hurt you. You can go ahead and try the very thing they're going to give you first off in a hospital, and that's magnesium sulfate. So you know those big bags of Epsom salt you can get just wherever at any big box store? You can get that Epsom salt in the grain form, like what you put in your bathtub, or you can get like capsules, like tablets and pills that are magnesium sulfate, and you can take either of these forms orally. And typically magnesium sulfate is used for relief of constipation. So, bonus, if you're suffering a little constipation, I know I do from being pregnant, and you're worried that you're getting some symptoms of preeclampsia, you can go ahead and just take a few doses of that over a few days. Just web search like some suggestions about dosage. It's out there, the info's out there, and you can treat your constipation and treat your concerns about if you have some mild preeclampsia that just really needs to be treated with just a bonus of some magnesium sulfate. Then you can take care of that yourself. And if your symptoms start to go away and fade back, and you can check your own blood pressure. I've been doing that at the grocery store. And you can take care of it yourself that way in some cases. And that's what a midwife would do. So if you're taking care of it yourself, I just look up, well, what does a midwife do about this? What does a midwife do about that? And then I try that thing. I've never had anything go wrong that I was like, what would a midwife do? And asked the internet, tried that thing, and then my health got worse and nothing fixed, and I had to go to a hospital. So I don't have that perspective personally yet, but I do know that there have been things where I feel depleted, or I feel like I'm behind. I don't know. I'm just not where I need to be physically or something like that. And I just look up what midwives do about it, and then I do it for myself, and most of the time the issue clears itself up. So for example, I noticed with my first pregnancy, and I think my second too, that I started bruising more easily toward the end. So I started taking vitamin K2, and my bruising really, really lightened up. I just went back to normal, and it could have helped to make sure that my baby didn't get bruising from being born, and didn't have like any kind of bleeding. Sometimes babies can be born with bruising that causes bleeding, like inside their head, just in their scalp and stuff. The K2 can help prevent that, so I've been taking that. And then this pregnancy, I've started taking that, and around this week, this 31, 32, 33 weeks is a good time to start taking vitamin K. And it won't hurt you to take. I've been taking some extra vitamin D. I think 2,000 IUs a day, in addition to what's in my prenatal, which is like I think 500 to 1,000. And you should be good up to about 4,000 and some IU a day. So I'm keeping it right in that middle lane. And what else am I taking? You can take... I just take vitamin C, a little extra vitamin C, which also helps the bowels move and keeps your immune system tip-top. There you go. So that's 32 weeks. And I'm going to go ahead and keep studying up for y'all, and then I will do a 35 week, and we're just getting really close. So thanks for listening in. Catch you next time.